changing lives.
Akwanhwefo memma ewo Asante South Ghana Conference be kwai edi dwuma soronko epagya Awurade Yesu abodawuro ebra ye kan ye ho abom na ya da ye ho adie
ye kasa ubo nso a ye nyina ne yekro ye hia kade a ye de be konso Asante South Ghana Conference inauguration 13th November 2021 ya
ye hia adofo onum nyina
se meme ya kan ho abom ene ye tun sa frɛ man nyina o me fa ho keka betan meme echi ne ntumi nro botaye no
S.D.A Senior High School
Bekwai Ashanti region
anopa 9
mema mun sorry emma mun tayechi
I will go
meko
na chen
I will go
nkoho
I will go
meko
I will go
meko
Self to self, I will go.
Hope Channel, changing lives.
Everybody, and good evening. You're welcome to the consulting room. I'm very pleased to have you here today. If you remember last week, we had a very interesting conversation and we learned so much and heard so much about sickle cell disease, the way it presents, the way we can help ourselves, the way we can make some decisions in our lives to better everybody's choices. So today we are going to have another very interesting conversation, and I do hope that as the show goes on, you'd have more questions and more answers to your questions. I have here today with me Pastor
Josiah.
Okay, and you're welcome, please.
Thank you.
I'm very happy that I've met you. I've never met you before, but I'm who posters, baby. I've never met you. But as for Kweku, there is my boss, so I always meet him. Okay, so we have a question from one of our viewers. She listened to the show last week and she sent in her story. So she says, it was love at first sight. We couldn't stop staring at each other at my sister's wedding. Even though I'm older than she is, she's walking down the aisle before I do. Do you want to know how I feel? I'm sick, frustrated and angry at my parents for passing on these abnormal genes to me. I met my first boyfriend a few weeks after I started national service. After dating for some time, we decided to try a shot at marriage. We were told to run some labs during counseling, and it was there we realized we were just about to hurt ourselves. It was a hard nut to crack, but we had no choice but to separate. Kofi was fortunate enough to find my replacement in no time. Unfortunately for me, I am still single at 33. It seems I'm unlucky with the men who come my way. Those I fall in love with are genetically incompatible with me. When I first saw him walking towards the gift table, I instantly became jittery. I could not complete sentences and I made a mess of myself with the stuff I had in my hands. He was so handsome and his gestures suggested he liked me too. Dear consulting room, I do not want to lose this one too. What should I do? What are my options? Pastor Ando, please, yes. What happens during counseling that has made this lady so sad that everybody she's meeting, she's not compatible with? what generally happens during marriage counseling?
Well, during marriage counseling, some people think that marriage counseling is to rubber stamp your choice, but no, it is to find out how compatible you two are. And so one aspect of compatibility that is normally checked is health compatibility. Okay. And so the test that she's talking about is what every counselor will ask you to do, your blood genotype. And that's what was being discussed last week. So
I suppose this is the sickling genotype.
Yes.
So aside the sickling, we have other genetic incompatibilities. Do we necessarily check them?
Yes,
especially in our part of the world?
In our part of the world, what you normally do, okay, so what I would normally request from my clients would be to check your blood group, the blood group and rhesus factor. Okay. That's important to check because of how hepatitis B is affecting lives, to check hepatitis B and then to check the blood genotype. These are very, very important. Other aspects that may come in would be HIV and any other transmittable disease. Because once you get married, you are going to have sexual intercourse, you are going to procreate, therefore these things are important. Okay. So you may have to run tests on these.
So Dr. Imedu, are there is it what the counselors ask the to-be couple to check? Are they medically significant? Are they good?
Yes, they are. So, well, Pastor, I am more privy to a lot of the denominations, and you will see a letter from a couple, say Baptist Church, Seventh-day Adventist Church, so and so. Then they have a list of most common ones, as Pastor just mentioned. So the blood group, the sickle cell status, the HIV status, and the hepatitis status. Usually they would want to know the ones that are related to sexually transmitted infections, as well as the other ones which are, one, life-saving, and two, may also affect the offspring that they are going to.
So which ones are life-saving?
So for example, he mentioned about resource factor. You, because of the probability of the second child, usually after the first one, when you are resource exposed, they have these complications from the resource incompatibility.
So the resource, is it, when I checked my blood group, I'm AB positive. Yeah. Is it that the positive part that is the resource part?
Yes, the positive part, yes.
Okay.
Usually when they are positive, the problem usually when the mother is negative and the father is what? Positive. The first child may be spared. But usually, during the first child, first birth, let me put it that way, the mother, the antibodies which are produced from the negative and the positive, which will be circulating in the mother, it may not show up in the first child, but in the second child, because of those existing antibodies, they tend to fight with the experience that he would. So it's going to affect the second child. And I've seen quite a few. They can be quite. So
it can lead to even couples losing their babies.
Baby and stuff like that. So we want to check all those things. The sexually transmitted aspects too. We want to know. You don't have. I want to have an issue where one is HIV positive, the other is not. The other one is not aware. Then later on they find out. Usually most of the women will now find out that they are HIV positive when they are about.
When they are expecting
a baby. Yeah. They're like, what happened? I know I'm not HIV. That's okay. So all along you
bring issues.
Yeah. So from the church's point of view, they want to make sure that you're all coming in with a clean slate.
Marriage is not something that we want to back out of.
Exactly.
So there shouldn't be any grounds for any misunderstanding that can lead to separation. Okay.
Some churches will also go further and want to check whether before the union or the blessing of the marriage, is the woman pregnant or not?
Oh, okay.
You understand? So apart from the fact that they ask questions whether they want to know whether you are sexually active or not, they also want to go further and check whether you are pregnant or not. So these are all things that we do the labs, we fill it, then the attending medical officer will put his signature and stamp and send it back to the counselor or the church. Okay,
so Pastor, in our church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, do we also have that request, or we do it personally?
You see, the church system is that, okay, so a couple come to say they are getting married, so they speak with the family ministries in their local church. Okay. Now, the role of the family ministries is to facilitate your process. So one way is that, okay, you would have to do premarital counseling. And if you have a counselor ready, then you inform them that, well, I've selected so-and-so counselor, and then they would have to ensure that you are going through premarital counseling. If you aren't, then the family ministries department will provide premarital counseling for you. Not that they would do it, but most of the time, because pastors take some introductory courses in counseling, the pastor is able to offer that. And for a pastor to counsel you, one of the things that he ought to do once it's premarital is to ensure that the two are medically compatible.
I'm sure some of our viewers are wondering why today, instead of having two doctors here, we have a doctor and a pastor. From my little experience of being in the medical field, the human being is not just one person at a time. You have everything around you that contributes to you being the human being. You have your social life, you have your spiritual part, your financial, emotional, all the aspects of your life contributes to you being mentally sound and physically fit. So here in the consulting room, we want to put all these aspects in perspective so that when you're making some of your decisions, you not make them in isolation, leaving other parts of your life out. So if you have any question concerning why we have Pastor Ando and Dr. Kwekwi here today, this is the simple explanation. Also, if you have any question or suggestion as the conversation goes on, you can send your questions and your contributions to the number 055-96-80066, 055-96-80066. When you text us your questions, I'll get them and I'll throw them to our guest who would be very happy to help you out with the questions. So back to the conversation. I've come with my partner. I'm yet to get married. I've come and we are both genetically incompatible. What are my options? What do I do from the medical and the church point of view?
Well, the church does not choose your spouse for you. You make your own choice. In fact, nobody really chooses for you. You choose your own spouse. In counseling, we don't decide for the person. We rather help the person to make an informed decision. So I tell you, okay, so you bring your record. I am this and my partner is that. So let's assume that, okay, so I am HIV positive and my partner is negative and we want to get married. What do we do? I mean, this is, fortunately, it is possible for one HIV positive and a negative person to be married, but being aware helps you to know that, okay, I am marrying someone who is HIV positive, and this is what I will do. So you are making an informed choice. So there is that. Assuming that, okay, you are AS and your partner is AS, you two are carriers of sickle cell disease. And so I will tell you as a counselor, okay, these are the implications. What it means is that you have, if assuming you have 4 children, in each pregnancy you have 1 out of 4 chances of giving birth to a
You know, people don't understand this concept.
The concept of one in each pregnancy, 1 out of 4 chances in each pregnancy.
Oh,
if you have 4 children,
will be AA.
exactly.
My second born will be AS. It's when I have the first 3. It's when the last child that will be SS.
And that means I'll have only 3 children.
Yes.
No, it could be the first one. It could even be all 4. It could be, I mean, you have a chance in each pregnancy to give birth to a sickle cell disease carrying child. I mean, I don't know if I'm putting it right, but
Pastor, not to cut you, there 1 out of 4 can also be expressed in percentages.
All right.
So
25% chance.
So in all your children,
that's a very big chance.
Yes,
so it's a big chance. So the question is, do you want to risk that? Do you want your children to be to be having sickle cell disease? That's one. Do you want a situation where you would just, okay, you want to take the chance? Some people actually say we are getting married by faith. But seriously, God has given us the wisdom to decide. So you don't go to worry him with faith and all that. So I will let you know.
Pastor, someone will tell you, Ujide so.
Well, this is, seriously, this is not about faith. It is reality, science, and it is God that has given us that wisdom to even detect. Those days, our parents were losing their children without even knowing what was happening.
Unfortunately for me, I lost a very dear childhood friend a few years back.
Exactly.
And it still hurts everybody around us.
Exactly.
I can't say the name, but then it still hurts me as a now.
Because
hurts. He was a very promising young man who was doing exploits, then he just...
All right. So you tell them these are the options. This is the likely, or you'll be attending hospital every time. When there are crises, you even forget the love that put you together and all that. So I let you know these are the implications. Another implication, you could decide that, okay, we are going to get married and we will not have offspring. And then they decide. Now, assuming I counsel a couple that I tell by the records that you are not compatible so long as your medical records are concerned. And then they say, we still want to get married. I cannot stop them. The church cannot stop them. It is their decision. But I would have done my work as a counselor by making them aware of what they should expect in their marriage.
Okay. From the medical point,
all hope is not lost, even though we advise, as the counselors will also do same. What we try to do is that we don't even wait for the complications to happen, or say the effects to happen before you try to solve it. Because one, you burden your family, you burden the hospital facilities, resources, because the government will have to pump money into sickle cell management and all those things. Those monies could be channeled to other places. So these are things we consider. For that reason, we advise you that try and downplay, or should I say, try and suppress the emotional aspect of love.
So my kids shouldn't fall in love then.
Then, you understand? And then try and think about the possibility of what avoiding, looking at all these things that might happen. Because trust me, you are going to hate everyone. You hate your family. You hate your so I'm sure that's why probably the lady
she said she's angry at her parents.
Yes, so
she shouldn't make her offspring angry at her.
It's simple like that. You look at all these things, then you try and avoid it. But however, as I mentioned earlier, hope is not lost, because there are things which are being done now.
Tell us.
Pastor is here, so maybe it will be a bit controversial, because but the truth is that as part of the genetic counseling, mapping, whatever you want to talk about, some people are able to detect sickle cell in utero, right?
Okay.
In some places they do selective procreation. So, for example,
so that brings the moral issues, and that's why you are saying, okay,
yes,
that's fine.
You understand? Yes, yeah. But I'm speaking from the science aspect.
Right.
You understand? So, what they will say that, oh, okay, so in utero we detected that one of them is what. My baby is likely to be sickle cell. You understand? Do I really want that? Or for example, in 20 weeks like this, you know what they usually do? They do what we call they scan for fetal anomalies.
Yeah.
So if they find out by 20 weeks that those anomalies are present, and for that reason the child cannot survive
life out of the womb.
Life out of the womb, right? Then what happens then? Then they try to terminate it. It will even interest you to know that for some funny reason, God in a special way has made it a way that some people, even when some sickle cell, babies or babies exposed to a sickle cell mother, usually are not able to carry the baby to term. Because even in utero, there's a way that the body tries to deal with all these ones. You understand? But we do selective, okay, this one should go, this one should stay inside. But the morality on abortions and all those two also comes inside.
Because you're a Christian.
Exactly.
I don't think any church supports abortion.
Exactly.
Because we know life from the Christian point of view starts from when there's fertilization, then implantation. But then from the medical point of view, we view you as a human being when you are 28 weeks old. That's about 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
So before 6 months, we don't see you as a human being. So it will pose, I think it will be a very difficult decision.
All these things, and the other aspect is now the introduction of the hydroxyurea we spoke about last week. So some patients are put on the hydroxyurea then to help deal with issues. There are also some new forms of things, what we call exchange transfusion. So the babies, when they detect them they're in crisis, they try and withdraw, or they do periodic blood transfusion. But the question is that how many people actually
can afford it?
Not afford. I even agree to the fact of taking someone's blood every time.
All right.
It's not peculiar to a particular church, which some people think. Even in our own Seventh-day Adventist church, there are some people who feel that.
All right. Yeah, there are people who
like that. Yes. So especially the extremists.
Yeah.
You understand? So exactly. So you look at all these things and the stress that you would have to go through. Then you ask yourself questions like, do I really want this? So if you don't want to go through this, why would you want to even take a gamble? But as they always say, it is better not to even fall deeply in love, right? At least do the test as early as possible.
All right. So what I would say is that, you should know yourself. We are in the 21st century. So man, know yourself. Way ahead of time.
Yes.
No, seriously. My children, okay, they don't know, but I know their genotype today. So I let them.
You know, not their circling status. People don't know there's a difference.
There's a difference. So when in counseling I'm asking you for a medical check, I don't ask you to bring me negative or positive. All right.
You go straight for the HB.
Exactly. That is what I ask you to bring. I want to know if you are AA or AS or AC. Or, the C is normally not A, but I want to see that. Then I can tell you that, yes, these are the possible implications of your combination.
The issue is not even fine. Some people even grow up and they don't even know that they even have it.
Exactly.
Like, for example, today there was a patient who came to the consulting room complaining of knee pain. And she's 13 years old, and she claims that there was an issue, like when she was in class 1, someone kicked her at the knee, and for that reason she's been having knee pain.
All right.
For 13 years. Then the kick was really strong.
Exactly.
That's serious.
So I asked for an X-ray. She came back. I looked at it. It looked pretty normal. You understand? Then the auntie or the sister who accompanied her also said that she also complained of ankle pain.
The sister. Oh, okay.
And I'm like, knee pain, ankle pain, what's happening? So the first question that just came into my mind was that, what is your sickle cell status?
All right.
Then the auntie was like, she's SC, and I'm like, okay. But this is somebody you look at, they're looking all healthy. Like there's no clue that she's sick. She's sickle cell, and I'm sure she doesn't even have crisis. So she doesn't know.
And the knee pain may be a form of crisis, but it's actually attributed to the kick.
Exactly.
All right.
So until later on that, for example, this particular person will not have these issues. She will grow up, she will fall in love, then
and then produce somebody whose crisis may be serious.
Exactly. So yes. So early detection, right? Taking particular note or the advice of the counselors and the doctors who are seen, and you do your best to, as we say, selective in terms of tobo or don't the tobo answer. Let the. I'm being careful with my words, but you try to.
You have to think. Love is not.
But I didn't come from me.
I know. I knew you were not going to bring that, but let me say it. Love is not stupid. Let's put it bluntly. Love is not stupid. So yes, I'm in love. That is true. Because I love you,
exactly,
I should not marry you. I mean, we should be able to get to that point.
Exactly.
Because I love you this much, I should not marry you. Because if I marry you, the two of us will not be happy one of these days.
Yes, okay.
Therefore, I love you so much that let us not get married. I think we should be able to get to that point.
I think that's a very good
exactly.
point. I love you so much.
So
let's not get married.
Are you sure?
Oh, I've had an experience. I said last week, I'm AC. And unfortunately for me, I met somebody that was AS.
Congratulations.
It was difficult, but and you'd be surprised to know that me being a medical doctor, I was still willing to gamble.
Wow.
Until sense dawned on me. I know it's difficult for the viewers watching. Some of you might be wondering. It happens to everybody. It doesn't happen to just people that are not pastors, so they will think that, oh yeah, Pastor Antina, or people that are not doctors. It happens to everybody. It's not selective. So you just have to use your brain.
Exactly.
Yes. So in reading for the program, I saw thalassemia and all those ones. Do we check for those ones in Ghana, Dr.
Okay, so they are not the first line investigations that most doctors will do. So okay, so we have a group, it's a big word, hemoglobinopathies. But you divide the word into two. So hem and pathies. Okay, so pathies usually are disorders or deviations from what? The normal. Like from the root word. This is not medicine, this is English language.
No, it's Greek. It's from the Greek
word, yes.
So at least, even though I'm not a medic, I seem to
so
understand some of
the heme aspect is the blood aspect.
Right.
So there are a lot of disorders of the word, the blood, which includes sickle cell, which includes G6PD, which includes
the
thalassemia. So for example, in our training, maybe not relevant in this setting, we usually group them into three parts. Enzymopathy. So the enzymes that triggers the formation of those blood processes, or issues related to the membranes, the cell wall and how they call it, membrane. So we divide them into particular parts, and each of them there's a list of disorders you can find. So thalassemia, right, also forms part of how do you call it? How should I even put it?
It forms part of the disorder.
Exactly. Yes.
So I asked because some people think it's just sickle cell that they have to be cautious of.
No, but it will interest you to know that there's one sickle cell variant called S-beta thalassemia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the same way you can have SCSS, right? You have S-beta thalassemia. Don't forget that some people say that the sickling cell is usually on the alpha chain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the heme usually comes in two parts, where we have the alpha and the beta. Sorry, I'm just carried away. All right. Okay, so alpha and the beta, right? So usually the alpha part is usually where you have the sickle cell issues, right? And the beta aspect,
so you have the thalassemia.
Most likely, but well, that is debatable. I don't want to go there yet.
Okay.
So we are having a very interesting conversation
until I got carried away.
Yes, until Dr. Imedu got carried away. But we are going to go for a short break. We'll come back and we'll go more into the conversation, and we'll also answer some of the questions some of you have for us. do well to stay with us and join us when we come back.
Hello and welcome to Calvary Hour. Calvary Hour is a magazine show that brings your way the beliefs of Adventists and what the Bible says. What do you know about the Bible? Yes, and then you get to meet some personalities who share in their experience. And what makes Calvary Hour an amazing show is that you also get to bring in your favorite songs and we'll play it out for you. Calvary Hour comes your way every Tuesday at 4 p.m. You don't want to miss it. The TEMA Central District of the Seventh-day Adventist Church presents a week of prayer. Theme: When All Power is Gone. Speaker: Pastor Kwabena Chum, Director for Projects and Strategic Plan of the Southern Ghana Union Conference. Date: 7 to 13 November 2021. Time: 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. each night. Venue: TEMA Community 6 Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Welcome back to the consulting room. We are having a very interesting conversation here. Dr. Ayumedi is taking us to thalassemias and alpha chains and beta, and Pastor is telling us that even if you're in love, don't be what's foolish.
Yeah.
Pastor, can you
love is not stupid.
Yes,
yeah.
Love is not stupid.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope we all understand this. So we are doing this so that we will all be able to help ourselves, because once we are healthy, our families are healthy, the church is healthy,
exactly,
the nation is healthy,
yeah,
and
we are all happy.
Yeah, we don't have to go and say, Pastor, may bompire mommy.
Yes, and we'll be praying over something that, I mean, a decision should have been taken many years back, and it's a stress.
So faith.
Yeah, faith. No, there is faith. You see, when you do not know and you go into it, yes, we rely on God, we ask Him for help and all, yes. But when you know that this is likely to end me this way,
Pastor, and
you go into it. Anyway.
There's a very interesting question here for you.
Oh, okay.
And I'll read it just as it was sent. It says, is Dr. Andor of the view that people who exercise their faith in regard to marrying a lover who is AS, though they may also be AS, stupid? Since he argues that love is not stupid.
Yes, love is not stupid, but I'm not saying anybody who exercises the faith against logic is stupid. That's not what I'm saying. Yes, you can exercise your faith against logic. And that faith is likely shall I say, it is likely to yield positive result, because we have some people who are carriers, get married, and they have healthy children.
75% of the time they should
exactly
have.
Yes,
but 25% of the time.
Exactly, and we have some people who are carriers who have had all their children being in a sickle cell, and even losing these children.
And people don't understand the fact that having even one child out of 10 children who is
sickle cell
leads to the neglect of all the other 9.
Exactly, and it affects the marriage.
Yeah,
it affects the marriage. So yes, you can exercise your faith, but you see, what God doesn't do for us is what we humans can do for ourselves. All right, God, I always use the Lazarus example. Jesus could command Lazarus to come out from the grave, but he asked humans to roll the stone. Though he could have rolled the stone, but what humanity can do, we don't summon divinity to do. So faith is not, like I'm doing something against logic. That especially when it has to do with the health of your offspring.
we are getting a lot of questions today.
I personally, I believe in the miracle aspect. You understand? But I'm also privy to the suffering of a lot of the mothers. It's terrible because...
And unfortunately, it's the mothers that suffer the stress of having to lose their jobs, stay in the hospital.
Exactly. I know someone who had some money. Like, I mean, is known to have money, but he's virtually lost all to sickle cell. Yes, because his kids are always back to back. Back to back. Like, this group comes, goes home, then the following week, another one comes. Like, it's even gotten to a time that now no one even, when they come to the hospital, they even see them for free because, like,
they are always there.
They are always there.
So, Dr. Imedu, my attention was drawn to the fact that when you were talking about the options that were available, stem cell transplant. Can you go a bit into that?
Okay, yeah. So I think now they do that at Rage. Usually the essence of the stem cell, you don't want me to become scientific, but you're pushing me to that.
No, we want to know our
options. You should say it in our language.
Okay, so stem cell. Okay, so they are there, and it's difficult. So let's say the primary level
the cells that form
all cells.
Yeah.
So the cell that forms what? All the cells. So now I can pick the normal cell that forms all the cells from a normal person, right? Then introduce it to how do you call
somebody that has the disease.
That has the disease, and it is expected that it would
so you start producing
all the cell lines. Yes, yeah, exactly. It's now being done at Rage.
But it's expensive.
It's expensive. It's good. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you see, I mean, when I counsel a couple that has this resource factor issue, I tell them now there is an injection that you take when but I let you know it is expensive, and then I give you the option. Do you still want to get married?
No. Let's try and answer more questions. So another person says, hello consulting room, I'm following the discussion and loving it. If I am genetically incompatible with my husband, can I get pregnant with another man's sperm? I'm very sure there's a medical term for that. Please help me out. Pastor.
Like IVF or something?
Yeah, another man's sperm.
Well, this
question shouldn't come to me. Of course, yes.
The answer to the medic is yes. Yes. But as to whether it is morally okay is another whole thing altogether. Because there are a whole lot of ethical issues and discussions when it comes to reproduction technologies. Okay, so and for me this is coming up because people get married with procreation only in mind. So that it's like, okay, so I am going to get married to this man. Okay, so I don't know the context of this question, but let me answer it from two contexts. A context of, okay, I am a carrier, my to-be husband is a carrier, and then we decide that we are going to get married but not carry each other's what I mean, yes. I mean, we will not share our genes. Rather, we would do whatever transplant and IVF or whatever. There is that kind of decision. And then there is also the aspect of the question, which is, okay, I'm already married to this man. And now I know that I have this, possible outcome in my marriage. So what do I do? There are so many options in getting offspring, so many options, but some of them may not be supported biblically. Some may be technology, some may be social, because honestly, I don't know how open this person will be to adoption, for example, which does not necessarily have all these moral issues. And the issue of even getting pregnant with someone's sperm or whatever. You know, what the process, what goes into it. There are different schools of thought when it comes to whether it is morally okay. So the question now is, okay, so how do we do it? Do we do it through sexual intercourse? Maybe no, but that is an option. Do we do it through
tube insemination, for example?
Tubal insemination. And I mean, there are issues of fertilized eggs getting disposed of and all. And so
today's conversation is not. I think we are talking about sickle cell. I'm sure.
No, but it's still relevant.
In the future, we'll talk about fertility and all these issues concerning fertility. But today, I would want us to concentrate more on the sickle cell, as we are having a lot of questions coming up. So, Madam Ajua from Accra says, I think the church should be able to stop couples who decide to get married even though their genotypes are not compatible. The reason being that these children go through a lot when they are in crisis, and that we should be able to prevent these parents from bringing these innocent children to suffer for their negligence. Well, Madam Ajua, our church is a democratic church, and this is the consulting room. We want to give you the facts so that you make the decision for yourself. Another question here says, good evening. I am B negative and my husband is O positive. What will happen to our children? Dr. Imedu.
She is B negative and the husband is O positive. Yeah. Okay, so because she is negative and the husband is positive, that is the issue of rhesus factor. So the first child is going to be spared.
That's if she's not gotten pregnant
before, yes,
with another person. That is if she's not gotten pregnant before with another person. And it's supposedly her husband is supposed to be the first person she's
getting pregnant with.
Ideally.
Good.
But we don't know that.
We are living in a real world. All right. Not the ideal world.
I try to be mischievous.
No, the reality is,
okay, anyway, yeah. So the first child is going to be spared. But you're going to build antibodies against the rhesus factor. And now in the second child, if we don't put her on the program,
it's an injection.
What's going to happen that those antibodies which are formed are going to fight with the fetus. And they have other causes.
If the fetus happens to be positive, since she is negative.
Yes. If the fetus happens to be positive, since she's negative.
But if all her children turn out to be negative,
then she's spread. Exactly.
But then if the children turn out to be positive,
the antibodies are going to fight and they'll have complications on the child. However, if she was positive and the husband was negative, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
No.
Do you understand? Yes, exactly. But for the blood group, taking away the rhesus aspect, for the blood group, it is not really a problem.
It doesn't matter
how. Anybody can marry anybody.
But the rhesus factor is when the woman is negative.
Yes. Yeah, you have to be a bit careful. And Rogram is quite expensive.
It is.
Yeah, and you don't take it once. You get injected, I think, twice during the pregnancy.
Sometimes even thrice.
Yes.
Yeah, depending on when we started. So, if you want to make that decision, you should have money. Health is not free. So another person says, please, I want to know how possible someone can be tested and have genotype AA, but will be told to be AC from another test. I know of a friend who was AA, but later went for another test and he was told was AC. I'm going to answer this. I was told I was AA, but I didn't do the further test. The first test we do is called sickling test. It tells you whether you are sickling positive or negative. Unfortunately for most of us, when we are told we are sickling negative, we think we are AA. But if you are AC, you still be sickling negative because you don't have the sickle cell. Yes. You have another form of abnormal red blood cell. So if you go and do the HB electrophoresis, that's when you get to know your genotype. That's when you know you are AA or AC. But if you've had different results, you can always try the World the highly verified labs.
Labs, yes.
Yeah, you can ask your doctor friends and they'll tell you. I'm not here to promote any lab, so you can see me in person and I would recommend some places that you can go. Or Dr. Imedu.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so today the questions are plenty. Someone says, the bigger question is, who is to marry the sickle cell disease victim, patients? Who is to marry this person?
Okay, so the problem is not the person. Let's try and understand where we are coming from. The problem is not the person. Because there are people who are SS and they still get married. The problem is that to avoid your offspring, right, being angry at you and suffering, right, it is better to get married to someone, right, who you are genetically compatible with. So, for example, if you are a sickle cell, and even if you are SS, you can get married to somebody who is what? AA.
Yeah.
And you have
you don't have to get married to someone that is AS.
AS, yes. You
have to definitely get married to somebody.
Exactly.
And for I know that for women that are SS, their pregnancy and their delivery, they are all very high risk. The probability of you losing your life to bring life, it's almost like 50%.
50%, yes.
So when you are, especially in my department now, you'll be put on antibiotics, you'll be given oxygen through the whole process of delivery. If you happen to be in a hospital that they charge so much for oxygen, well, people don't get the financial implications of these things, and they think, oh, it doesn't matter. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
But I think it really matters, because Obiba 5 cedis in the hospital without receipt, they'll come and make a fuss. Then you'll be there saying that I can go for what 5,000 without receipt.
Exactly.
Well,
but in this how to put it, world of love, right? Most people are not sickle cell carriers or even sickle cell positive. So it is possible that you have somebody who is even normal, because they are even more common than...
And honestly, if everybody will listen, I don't think we'll spend 10 years eradicating sickle cell.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, if
it will go out with our generation.
Exactly,
yes.
If we all listen, it will just go
because
off.
it's preventable.
It is.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Imedu, there's a follow-up question on the stem cell transplant. What are the odds for its success, the stem cell transplant?
I don't think I know the percentages, but what I know is that the science behind it is that it's successful, and they are the cells that produce other cells. We use it for so many things. And
however, we should note that even if you get a successful stem cell transplant, you will still be genetically SS, AS,
exactly, yeah.
Whatever your genes are would remain the same.
Yeah.
Just that the cells that are producing your new cells would be different. So it's called phenotype.
It's a phenotype.
Your phenotype, how your cells physically look like, would be different.
How you physically look like.
So genotype is different from phenotype.
Yes,
I think I learned something like that.
Exactly.
Well, so
and with a stem cell, you are likely to have fewer crisis episodes.
Yeah, because you're physically you have a new kind of... Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, someone is still asking, so when you're going to marry, you must look at your genotype.
You should, I believe that every normal person should, you can just walk to any lab, whether you are going to get married or, you need to know your status. Walk to any lab and ask for it. So that as you walk, as you move about, you know who you are. And then you understand when you are falling in love.
Don't be like me. Don't go and fall in love with an AS. I'm AC. I keep saying it. I got to know I was AC just about 2 years ago.
And this is a medic.
Trust me. It wasn't. I'm putting my own out there so that people will know that this is something that is real. And if you come to the pediatric ward, most especially, and you see babies crying because
They are in
nothing,
crisis.
yes, they are in so much pain, and no matter what you are doing for them, they are not getting, and unfortunately we lose a lot of them too.
Of course, yes.
I'm sure we all might know people that have sickle cell and we've lost them. So I hope a word to the wise is enough.
You know, usually, interestingly, they say that not a lot of them would survive to a particular
To a certain age.
But if by that age they survive, they are likely to live.
I think
and
5
not without
years,
crisis.
5
Yes,
years,
yeah.
21 years. Then after 21 years, it declines rapidly. So you now have a lot of elderly people being
exactly, yes.
sickle cell.
Maybe because they tend to take better care of themselves in terms of their exercise tolerance, the way they get exposed to infections. They know exactly
and
what
by
to
that
do.
time the person knows his status.
Exactly.
So he knows
What
how
to
to
do,
avoid
those crises,
crisis triggers and all.
The oldest sickle cell patient, I don't know personally, but then I read about, lived to be, the last time that was about 4 years ago was 66 years. Wow. And she didn't know she was sickle cell till she was around 40 years.
Look at that.
Wow.
She was married to a medical doctor, and it even beat them. So when they decided to check why she was falling sick, after a while, she wasn't falling sick from the beginning. It was after 40 years that it showed up. So,
exactly.
Yeah, she gave birth normally. She's lived a happy life, but she has sickle cell disease.
So the teaching here is that it's not like a one-time test. You should be checking it regularly because things can change in no time. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Are you saying my genetics can change?
It doesn't change.
Okay.
Okay. So there are so many things that can happen. Do you understand? So maybe there could be laboratory errors and all those things. So the fact that you checked today and you were AA
doesn't mean
that you are necessarily AA.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
And also, if you are AS, it doesn't mean we say AS people are just carriers. It's about the percentage of sickle cells you have in your blood.
Right.
So an AS person could have as severe crisis as an SS.
Right.
An SC person could be living normally because
the C may be higher.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I get it.
Yeah. So please, what are our last words, Pastor?
Last words?
you won't imagine how fast an hour runs.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that I mean sickle cell disease that we are talking about, and all issues of health should be taken seriously. God has given us medical science to help us to identify certain things, and so we don't repeat mistakes that our parents repeated. The story that we received, I think the person would need to be careful, especially since she says she is angry at her parents. Yeah. She doesn't want her children to be angry at her. So yes, she may be in love with this person, but she would need to find out the person's genotype and then understand that the two of them, because they love each other, if they are compatible, they move on. If they are not, because they love each other, they should take their separate ways. There is always love ahead of us.
Okay. Dr. Ayimedi.
Okay, so I think that we should take our premarital counseling serious. And after that too, when in case you are eventually the uneventful happens and you tend to give birth to a child who is also sickle cell, the mother should also try and, or the father, I say usually the mothers because they spend more time with the children, help the child know his or her risk factors and things that trigger.
Exposures, yeah.
Yes, when you do that, at least when you're able to control that well, some of them are able to limit the number of crisis episodes they have.
Okay, so a contribution from Nana Damwa, a friend of mine. He says it's appropriate for young people to ask questions about sickling on dates. Now we go on dates, and they should also ask questions about circling with people they have interest in, or with friends they think they would want to go out with. It doesn't kill to ask. Do that and save yourself a lot of stress. And I think I agree with that too. So once you start falling in love, or you start don't even get to the love aspect. I meet you, oh, what's your status? In a joking way. If you tell me, then I see, okay, that's a no-go area. So I hope that all those watching us have learned something new, or they've added to the knowledge they already have on sickle cell. Sickle cell is very devastating to everybody, to their family, to friends, to church, especially to the health system. Our Ghanaian health system has a lot of inadequacies. I don't think you'd want to go through life in Ghana, putting your children and putting yourself through all this stress. So if you're going to get married, or if you start liking somebody, know your status, know the other person's status. Try to know it in time so that you don't fall in love and it makes the decision to fall out becomes very difficult. And as we are ending the show today, I hope that next week, Monday at 8 p.m., you join us. And you be sure to know that we are going to bring you more interesting conversations, more interesting health topics from different perspectives, from doctors, nurses, pastors. You might not even, you shouldn't be surprised if you find who here, any
lawyer.
Yes, we've had lawyers here.
Yes.
You shouldn't be surprised if you find somebody that is not a doctor in the consulting room, because we are trying to give you holistic care. So join us next week, Monday, and this is the consulting room.
The TEMA Central District of the Seventh-day Adventist Church presents a week of prayer. Theme: When All Power is Gone. Speaker: Pastor Kwabena Chum, Director for Projects and Strategic Plan of the Southern Ghana Union Conference. Date: 7 to 13 November